Oh, hold on. Hello, everyone. I know you saw this screen as soon as I started. Things have not been going well for me. I was already late for work an hour and still decided to miss my time. Hello, Phoenix. Because I'm in the middle of studying. But we are moving on to resolve. So we're going to be waiting for Die. But we are going to finish on time so I can finish the triangle. The final eight. No, this is not the final Ace Attorney game. This is technically not the final Ace Attorney game. No, what about Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright? Okay. You can always emulate it, Phoenix. There's many 3DS and there's Lime DS. Welcome, Die. Are you ready? Unlike Leo, I will not take a break.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those
Ally
days
Bird.
in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
Find myself faced with another incident.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer. So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Judicature antechambers. Here I am again after 9 months. The Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Ah, good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. Truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous, I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Yujin Mikitoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. A man who earlier in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. Yes. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Ray Membami, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. So unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the university research laboratory helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial. Accused of committing a truly awful murder. Yes, Allie, I remember you. Are you feeling all right? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. It's just that. Oh. Oh, that's her name. Remember me. You look so gallant and dashing, Harry. And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. She's an ancestor to Maya Fey. Goodness. I don't think she knows. I think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work. Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikitoba? If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax. Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. This does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? What? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry you didn't say something sooner, eh? No, what are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you. You look for all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yume University, a male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see, it was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh. Sato, you'd go to such lengths for me? Of course. You're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. See? It's so strange though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Bree, please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and nodding eyes. You might be attracted to women. Oh, sorry, it's just, you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. You're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. Notice how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. She's really cute. Yeah, she is. Sato, you believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence. which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side, because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. Technically, well, there's a lot more to it than that. That means so much to me, Sasato. Defendant, counsel, court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ree. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh. Stand aside! I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Sasato, you certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom and with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. Father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ree doesn't know how it came to this? Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that. Is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? We should be making a move now too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my students. Thank you, Father. I'm Sasato Mikitoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. 2 months ago, due to an unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here? I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruto-san. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ree Mbami. The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency. We are ready. Ready. Ah, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is Ryutaro Naruto, is that correct? Sorry? Ah, yes. I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel? Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryutaro. He who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruto clan. Ah. Seems Ryutaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild, wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Naruto? Fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruto, would that perchance be You may be thinking of Rinosuke Naruto, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is, his cousin. That's right. Ryutaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy. How dare you! Sato is every bit as gallant and dashing as any of you Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Her? Oh, her. Please be careful, Ree. An unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes are very much suggestive that he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruto-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are want to flake. The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interest. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire. Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet, for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokai by the dock. Dear me. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assist the defense. To determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruto stood where you're standing now, the same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Alright, time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency. Please do make them simple. Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim. Dude, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. What's the matter? Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruto-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to plague. It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and that, guys, even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Yummers. Cookies. Oh dear. This is a dismal failure. Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record. That's right. Just use R to open the court record. When you need to flip to the people section with R, don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely. Alright, check the court records with R. That's where the information I need will be. I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case? These two don't make no sense. You know the answer, right, Di? Yeah.
Yes!
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our Empire Judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own Empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record. Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Behind the woman's student persona was the face of Now remember, they're talking about the trial that Nadahudo was accused of being a murderer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed. And the culprit was Giselle Brett. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain. And it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba? Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here in the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yume University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Nadahudo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligation was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed. Only the day before? That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Oh. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Ouchie. As is your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th of August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett in her bathing attire and the accused Ree Membami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady. Well, she's guilty. That extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say. So she's guilty. That's certainly true. The prosecution's summary was full of words that raised an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about I think one is unlike the other, which is going to be our answer. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. Is the yokai boy using long words he doesn't fully understand? I beg your pardon. No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san. You are a research assistant at the Imperial Yume University, I believe. Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikitoba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikitoba, whose research were you assisting then? Oh, I was studying under Dr. H. Wilson. Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. Oh no, Reed. Be careful of what you're saying. Huh. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency. I'm not sure how powerful revenge is a motive, but it is certainly a motive. Well, it was clearly a trap all along. How wicked of him to use Reed's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. Let's find out more details. Something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about. Alright. So, let's try one of these two. Being alone? Membani-san. Or Membami-san. Yes, what is this? I mean, Nadahuda-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Yutaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present, a detective who was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in that hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No! Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again. Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel. The prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that. But for now, at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let him go to you. Oh dear. It's really terrifying. Father's right. We need more information. As a lawyer, I really had to pick up on the prosecution counsel and what he said about. Well, let's do this one now. If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie. What do you want? You fresh-faced young yokai student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. My apologies. Clearly, my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. You're told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skin's... No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had to all intents and purposes been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry? Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But On what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal, as our Prime Minister sucks. Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But in fact, the murder took place. I said don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proved that yet. I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at university. Obviously, over that period, she and Reed would have encountered each other a number of occasions. Being the murderer of the mentor of whom she had such great respect, enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai, you can hardly blame Reed for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Reed. So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident. Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image. As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden. The court will accept this photographic print as evidence. Put it into the court. Alright. As I understand it, then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling. Okay? Finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant. Oh, Your Excellency, naturally, the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence, despite her being alone. But witnesses? But who? One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. Hello, Lobster Tail, goated game. I assure you the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt. Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses. Takatsuchi Ouchi, have been waiting for this moment. Time to peel the band-aid. Sorry? Oh yes, I haven't forgotten. That trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Inosuke Nadahudo! What, this insult to the Ouchi family name will never be forgotten. You've become conceited with age, counsel, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the very way of the world. May you never forget that. like the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolled. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died. The start of your own mini Meiji revolution? Are you modernizing as well, Counselor? Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the ouchy growth. You see this seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown? I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where is the hope exactly? I said silence! Today I face another yokai student of the Naruto clan. Well, I will vanquish you. And my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand. It looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each has much to lose, aside from receding hairlines. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ree's life. Witnesses, please state your names and occupation for the court. Chief Inspector Satoru Hasanaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. Right. And I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital impact. Yes. Soon to be sold out. The satirical I Am a Cat. A sensational success by Soseki Natsume. Oh my goodness. A getting student from the provinces, please. You needn't be in awe of me. I needn't? It's only natural that you feel nervous in my presence. But all you please relax. Call me Soseki. Yes? What on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Sasato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? He exposes you for who you really are. This will be over before it begun. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I would certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hasanaga, it's amazing how it is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to help me. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. I suppose it's this disguise. I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san? Well, you see, I'd been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident. The Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yume University? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical sciences. The professor over there, in fact, with Professor Mikitoba. Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about two former students who studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snapshot, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure. Provincial, struggling student friend, I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. Practically that people. Right. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance. At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. A detective, I am at liberty to divulge, was me, Chief Inspector Susudo Hasanada. Thereby the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seemed. It was extremely challenging to clear all the other members of the public who continued to the beach. But fortunately, I still have this cough and I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was unable to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my. Inspector, well, you do have something on your face now. How unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father? No, fortunately I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that as my assistant, Ree was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But if only I had! I'd never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. So, I want to know why this guy is not on the stand. Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab, when I suddenly heard it pull a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes! That young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. Indeed. It does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime. What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Yes. That was it. Damning evidence. What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that her dying moment, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more. Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah! The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Remembami. Remember me. The initials of the defendant. Ah, no! Who else would use a pen but that? Never mind. The fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. So, have I admitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. Well, it doesn't look blue on this side. Does it look blue on anyone else's side? It looks like it on Twitch. Let me check YouTube. It doesn't look quite blue. Well, I don't understand. The prosecutor Ouchie of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise. Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Nadahudo-san. Nadahudo. That means... Oh, yes, me. Is there another Nadahudo in my courtroom? Actually, there isn't even a single Nadahudo in your courtroom. Cousin Ryutaro, please pull yourself together, please. Right. Seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Finding consistencies in the witness testimony to prove that they're lying. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do.
Hold it!
And that Dante disguise? Correct. Wait, no! I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn this swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. So do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance. Those were my orders that day. And this tried and tested outfit was the answer? Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important part of a detective's job. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only my turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. My turtle loves the water. Is the turtle's name Vettel? But there was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really, was there? That made you late arriving on the scene. I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong. Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment. Ah, boy.
Hold it!
You're describing the victim's scream, presumably, Sasaki-san. More literary terms, you might say it was a scream that could have pierced the heavens. Yeah! Or the like. Of course, that's just a metaphor. We renowned authors are wont to describing things so. Sasaki-san wasn't at all like this in England. Anyway, I spun around at the noise and the beach hut immediately fell into my gaze. Yes, the beach hut. The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for the rest and recuperation. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always very quiet. The beach hut is a simple structure erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Although the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change into my swimwear on the sand. I imagine that was rather embarrassing to you. Well, anyways, I tossed the crab aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. Or, in more literary terms, I described and beetled off hut flies. Oh boy.
Hold it!
Wait, by Perry, you don't mean to say, but how could that be? No, you misunderstand. Obviously, I mean the victim and the defendant, Reem and Bami-san. Oh, it would have been helpful if you could have just said that from the outset. If you jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes. Dear me, pinning your hopes on such an outside chance. Foolish, very foolish. Really was an outside chance. I just wish I'd realized that before I said something silly. So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court how exactly you found the aforementioned pair in the hut? Well, it was a sorry sight. A really grisly scene. I parted the Norin curtain hanging in the doorway and stepped inside, only to see the defendant leaning menacingly over the lifeless body of the victim sprawled on the sand. Well, that cough only means that he's lying. My glasses very nearly cracked at the ominous sight that met my eyes. Maybe. How thoroughly appalling! He doesn't appear to be lying here. Well, actually, he is lying. Well, Sasaki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Hasanaga is saying, I wonder? You'd like a literary man's opinion? Stabbed wildly? You actually saw her do it? Oh, indeed. The terrible spectre, the Terrapin Inspector, the blood torrent, the author's torment. Eek! Every sight and every sound is still carved in my melancholy memory. That was my impression as a future literary sensation. Counsel, what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream? Oh, no, no, what are you insinuating? I'm as manly a Japanese man as you. I wonder if I might interject here, Sasaki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression, or your words just now, I believe. So do you mean to say you're not confident that you really did see what you've described? No, I mean, yes. I mean, I know what I saw. The ghosts are still following me. My ears didn't deceive me when I heard that scream. Hence my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish it all in tomorrow's newspaper serial. It sounds as though the next installment of I Am a Cat may take a macabre turn. I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become. How awkward.
Hold it!
He was stabbed multiple times? How can you be sure of that? Can we check the post-mortem report? Death is believed to be due to trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Only a single wound was identified. Extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim in both eyes. Cause of death, single deep stab wound from behind piercing a lung, resulting in fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. But the problem is here, because I don't think the stab wound was actually what killed her. Because it says extreme meiosis, indicating that she may have been poisoned. Very simply, from the blood on the blade. That's not a tell at all. See, the blood? When I entered the hut, I saw the defendant holding the blade raised up into the air. Yes, that's right. I saw it too. Oh. I noted that there was blood on the blade already at that point. In other words, the victim had already been stabbed at least once by the time I arrived on the scene. Yes, that's right. I saw it too. And the victim was already holding the defendant's fountain pen in her hand too. All of which means I can be sure. The victim did not die instantly. Possibly not. Yes, right. Saw it too. Maybe a year in London was too much for him. He sounds like he's forgotten how to speak Japanese. The logic of your argument is sound. Well, as I said, it is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Perhaps it should have been your guiding principle to protect the victim flawlessly. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, again, he's lying. Counsel, you will refrain from mocking the witness. Oh no, just have so many thoughts swirling around in my head. It's all I can do to stand here, wide-eyed and mute. Goodness, my dear, you really must try to calm down. But how am I supposed to find an inconsistency in what these two gentlemen are saying? I don't see why either of them would have any reason to lie. Why, you must remember, I think, that witnesses may inadvertently lie at times. For various reasons, a misunderstanding, a mistaken observation, a delusion, even a delusion? What's important is that we determine the truth. There's only one sure way to do that. Yes, with evidence, of course. Spoken like a true judicial assistant. During witness testimony, you can use R to pick a piece of evidence to present for consideration. So you need to listen carefully to each statement and compare what's said to the details in the court record. If you find some conflicting information, that may be the inconsistency you're looking for. Yes, it's all about inconsistency. Once you've identified a witness statement that appears to conflict with a piece of evidence, present the evidence to the witness with X, and the way ahead will present itself to you, I'm sure. Yes. Alright then. I'll consider the details of all the evidence in the court record against each statement to find an inconsistency. Open up fast. Don't forget that you can have the witnesses repeat their statements as many times as you like. Everyone has to start at the beginning, remember. So those wide eyes are quite forgivable. Besides, there's no one else to defend the poor girl. Right. I need to listen to the testimony again from the start. Which statement, Di? And I'm pretty sure you know what evidence, because we just looked at it.
Objection!
That accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me. I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhiro-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. But what's the meaning of that menacing pose, counsel? I'd like the witnesses to clarify something for me. Who, what, where, when, how? Not you, Sasaki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hasanaga. Me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, counsel. In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only. Ah! In other words, Inspector Hasanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. Ah! And Sasaki-san, see? You claim to have seen Nimbami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. Wildly. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point, that there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and it's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there is no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. True. And what exactly is your contention, counsel? Are you ever going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Sasaki-san in fact saw was not the moment the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. I can't be! Excellent work, Sasato. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection!
Oh well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show. Right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, but is only half a head of hair. Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference. What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn, the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. Ah! All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance. Ah! Except for that's not really the case. I am in agreement with the prosecution. The defendant was seen wielding the blade at all. That is sufficient grounds for her action to be viewed with suspicion. Yes and no. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back where we started. Not necessarily. Sorry? Consider this, young yokai boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with the demon's cold-blooded composure, too. The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good. Why did Ree pull out the knife? Ah, yes. Going for the jugular. What does Father mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. Truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could save her? Okay. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of the piece of evidence that clearly indicates your killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect from this young yokai. Indeed. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the yokai defense counsel, I mean. Slipshod? An excellent idea, Inspector. A young yokai hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense. Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. The basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 years ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Did pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes, because the blade acts as a plug. So very little blood would have seeped out from where the stab wound was. Because the way the skin wraps around the knife, it kind of seals it like suction. It pushes air away from the knife onto it so that if you do actually pull it out, there's some resistance to it. Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see.
Ah, this is why yokai should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a man. Father, is it true what you're telling me? Yes. Basic remedial knowledge for medics. Bree would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. Then why would Bree have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. He never once mentioned anything about the knife. It's almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have... Sasato. Yes? Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established fact, I will be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards. I understand. Sleeping in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. So it would be hard, but no idea it would be this hard.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you use due care and attention, it would be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it, and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation.
You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath.
Back to the witness testimony. In that case, there's an obvious explanation here, which is clearly the defendant Ri Membami-san does not possess an ounce of sense. What do you think about that, Professor Mikitoba? I can't believe we're pressing this. I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. Oh, I would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know. Young people today, if that's friendship, I don't understand it. Careful, counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Oh dear. That boiled on me rather badly. That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn. Hopefully you can see now that this is really basic medical knowledge. Did you learn anything from that die? Being involved in medical research, Membami-san would certainly have been aware of it.
Hold it!
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear, you have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Oh dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona take hold a little too much. Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument. Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Membami-san's nature to do something so awful. But he had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant.
Objection!
And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law.
Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feeling.
With this fledgling to defend her, I would almost say I pity the accused.
So do I. Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please. Yes. Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Membami-san.
Hold it!
Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Membami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely gifted to him. Yes, the English woman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mambami-san's ability. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's death. It only served to prove my point.
This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ree knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life, further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
So then we have to attack the motive. Let me check the court records to see if there's anything that we can. 19. What's this here? Oh, wow. Alright. Asado. It's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. Fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it?
Of course, but I've never been through the court records I've been through the court records dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail too. Ah! Realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom? So if you need reminding of the rudimentals, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help. Examine the evidence in the court record. What should I do? What do you want, Dai? Do you know what to do? Ask for a refresher? Yes, Father. Pardon guidance is what I need. I think that might be overdoing it slightly, but... Very well. So open the court record first of all with R. Now let's take a look at the fountain pen, which was submitted as evidence most recently. Press A to examine it further. That's all there is to it. Yes, the initials RM. There they are, clearly engraved on the barrel. Using the R stick, you can look at a piece of evidence from all angles. You should have a good look at everything to make sure you haven't missed any clues.
Yes, I will. Just need to rotate the pen with the R stick and watch closely for anything out of the ordinary. There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yumi University one.
It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. Business of some kind. That would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Reed. Alright, pick your statement, Dai. Are we presenting the pen that we just looked at? The newspaper.
Objection!
Did I choose the wrong paper? I'm supposed to examine it. Raucous England returns tell all. This is the interview with you and Sasaki-san, is it, Father? It looks as though it's quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me in the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. This is the newspaper from Sasaki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back of the page as well. Explosive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen? It's this morning's paper that Sasaki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned it? Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned his information? Come to think of it, there's no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there? The highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. Put Rhea in charge of that project. He was managing it? What's written here is true. It means that she tried to hide the stuff from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. We need to read this article very carefully. Explosive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. Following a lecture at Yume by Sasaki Natsume on 11th August, it comes to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the University Forensic Science Laboratory was stolen. Deadly in tiny quantity, even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Why is the poison being developed? Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military.
Objection!
No, there's one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What? Ah! The yokai not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here.
in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Unit.
Objection!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But, Prosecutor Ouchie, you will let the defense speak. But a newspaper article. The court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry. Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. It will indicate to the court precisely why part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion. Your Excellency! Yes, of course. Thank you. He would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article, where it says, deadly tiny quantities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes. Are you suggesting the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison? It would explain why the defendant, Membami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What?
Objection!
This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life. And the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold.
Objection!
That's not what happened. Oh, please. This is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim that she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, yokai? Why did we suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What? You can't possibly. From your expression, Counselor, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware
My words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm aware of that. I've seen it many times. My place at his side in the Old Bailey. In that case, counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Alright, what evidence, Di? Postmortem report?
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the postmortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis. Pupils constriction well observed in the victim. Ah! Clearly, being a yokai with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the postmortem report means that it is an unusual symptom of death? Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. There was extreme constriction instead. That's most certainly unusual, yes.
What are you doing, you yokai detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurring in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death.
What?
But the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely. Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt. Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence.
You yokai student and yokai professor!
I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions.
No!
Eugene Mikotoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in the newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I am afraid I don't know.
Don't know?
The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Ah, listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father!
It's a pitiful situation for a university professor.
You should have more control over your students. rather than allowing them off on killing spree. That's totally unfounded. None of this is Professor Mikitoba's fault. It's all my fault. Me. Embalmy-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated. But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we're developing had been stolen. That we were developing had been stolen that day. What? You knew? I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day the professor and Saseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was. Why didn't you let me know immediately? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential. Some of the toxin has somehow been taken. So I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was. Thief? You don't mean? Yes, of course. It was that dainty Englishwoman. Miss Giselle Brett? I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then she suddenly got to her feet before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they shrunk to tiny pinpoints. Don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effect of the stolen poison. Mine started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips, which had been with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. The blade of the knife on in her back. That train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade. Yes. The amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough she might still have a chance. That's what I hope. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end. Thank you, Your Excellency. Barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom.
Objection!
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Mbami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
We will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Ouchie. Perhaps some praise is due, young yokai student. What? I'd imagine there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you brought this on yourself. What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on the beach is almost palpable. This evidence, even more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Mambami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back. I'm going to take a look at that photo again. No, that's not true. No! I don't believe it. That didn't get added. Okay, so I gotta wait. Ah! Order, order, order! Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom? Perhaps his voice is yet to break. These yokais are slow of mind and slow to mature. I'll show you who's slow to mature. Careful now. Sato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And here we have ample proof. That's what I thought. The court will accept his extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. I can't believe he's had a photograph like this set up his sleeve the entire time. Okay. You see this here, Dai? Okay. Now I'm going to show you another photograph that has this same exact pattern right here. See that photograph right there? So that means there's another witness. It's such a stark image. I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you, who took that photograph?
Objection!
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. I think that is important here because that means that there's another witness. Oh!
Objection!
That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. Ah! I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that. Pardon? You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Goodness! Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believed it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court? When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you yokai student and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses.
but the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste this court's time with your rambling. Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim, and the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on this matter, I believe the conclusion is clear. No. Sato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you established so far is true, then there can be no doubt that this photograph shows the moment that Reed withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against the Taketsuchi Ouchi in a court of law. I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Well, counsel? Yes, Your Excellency. The burning question is, who took that photograph? And the truth is, we have to answer this, guy. This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please, do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could? However, I am unable to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer? Well, as I just showed. What is that? The newspaper again? Rockers in England returnees sell all. It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Ah, yes, indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happened. Ah, what of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like? There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph, good gracious! Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is presented on this photograph too.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Haha, yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely. From the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, counsel. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of
Yes, camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photograph.
With the photographic device?
Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens caused this unwanted line to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera.
But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular
Objection!
one.
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article.
Newspaper? Ah!
That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
What? Ah! In Mew.
I see why you were called a raucous English returnee.
What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's mini memo. I tell you, mini memo. Mini memo.
Saseki-san, what was that? Did you say many memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shuyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A report by the name of Ratten Many Memo, hounding me from dawn till dusk.
Ah, now that he mentions it. They secretly spy, snapshot, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy.
That same reporter be?
Hammer to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Ratten Many Memo.
So you're saying that this picture was taken by
Many Memo, yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire.
Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, your excellency. As you say, your excellency.
And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. We will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Good?
Many memo!
Okay, let's determine how long the next section is going to be. Two and a half hours. So if it's going to be 2.5 hours, we're going to need to stop. Yeah. One reason is because I do have studying for my insurance sales license. So this is a good place to stop. We can pick it up next week and determine 2.5 hours. That's going to be nearly the entire stream. All right. So we're going to go ahead and end stream. Okay. All right. So let's see. Tomorrow is going to be Sherlock Holmes: The Awakened remake. It's going to be a remake of the point-and-click game of The Awakened, which I will do when I do the point-and-click games of Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you want to be there. You weren't there for the Testament of Sherlock Holmes, but these are kind of M-rated games, so I don't know if there is well, if you want to be present for it, but they do have. This one is going to have puzzles where other ones were like action based that were in the main series of The Awakened. So all right. Yeah. So let's go see if there's a raid. There's a raid target. How about we raid Azalea? So I think the first one is not the short, and the second one is. At least that's what shows up on mine. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and raid her. So, if you're on YouTube, give Azalea a like and a subscribe. If you're on Twitch, give her a follow, and we are out.